Floating, hoping, millions of eyes watching live on their screens. Promise broken, never again do we know what that means. A red sunrise in black and white. Close your eyes so you can't see. Shut your ears but speak confidently. I shouldn't say it if it harshes the mood. If we don't know, it can't be true. Winning, sinning, justify killing by twisting beliefs, buying, selling, making a profit off murder and grief. Red sunny morn, mothers forlorn. Close your eyes so you can't see. Shut your ears but speak confidently. I shouldn't say it if it harshes the mood. If we don't know, it can't be true. Lying, dying, hundreds of family lines are erased. Starving, carving, walking for miles knowing nowhere is safe. Blood in the sky, famine contrived, eyes so wide so I can see. Open ears to hear confidently. I will still say it if it harshes the mood. If we must know, what will we do? Floating, hoping, millions of eyes watching live on their screens. Promise broken, never again do we know what that means.
There are no new ideas. There are only new ways of making them felt. Audre Lorde.
I have been searching for ways to apply my creativity in service of the struggle for a brighter future. This Audre Lorde quote is the foundation for this lecture recital. This lecture recital features 6 of the songs that I wrote this year while doing research on the role of music in social change and in peace building. Today, I'm sharing these songs with you while discussing the research that informed the songs musically and lyrically, and also how the journey of writing the songs influenced the research in return. My central exploration was around how to use songwriting as a communication tool, taking kernels of wisdom from academic knowledge and sharing them in a new way. My 3 main areas for research were in songwriting as an act of witness, songwriting to share peacebuilding strategies, and songwriting to affect a sturdy sense of hope. Let's have a show of hands. I can maybe see a little bit, but at least participate in your hearts. Let's have a show of hands. How many of you have experienced a piece of music that made you feel joy? Oh yeah, audience lights, love it, yay. And how many of you have had a piece of music that made you feel sad? What about angry? What about hope? And how many of you believe that music has the power to change the way you think about a certain topic or issue? Okay, yeah, there's a little less, but that is what we're looking at today, because this last question is the question that I've been carrying throughout this project. In response to the weary world, I asked myself, can music change the way we think? Can music teach us something new about ourselves, about the world, and what's possible? Responding to Audre Lorde, if music has the power to make us feel, what is it that I want to be made felt? The song you just heard was an exploration in songwriting as an act of witnessing. The song is called Never Again, and I started writing it on October 2nd, 2025, while I was watching the live stream of the Global Summoned Flotilla as it was set to reach Gaza. The flotilla was going to Gaza bringing aid to civilians and aiming to break the illegal military blockade that Israel has had in place since 2009. While I was watching, it was the wee hours of the morning on the Mediterranean Sea, and as I was writing, the 44 civilian boats were being intercepted by the Israeli Defense Forces, and the flotilla's live streams were individually going dark. This event is just one tiny piece of decades of violence and complex conflict in Gaza and between Palestine and Israel at large. As I wrote, I started with a chord loop in a waltz feel. Since playing in 3 often leads to a feeling of rocking back and forth, like the boats on the Mediterranean Sea. Originally, my loop only descended. But in my lesson with my songwriting instructor, Kalle, he suggested that this chromatic line could also ascend. And that clicked immediately as it mirrored the boats even better. Boats don't only rock it back and forth for stability. There's also the rise and the fall of big waves in the open water. In this sense, the guitar part in this song is the boat carrying the message to the listener. The first verse came as I, along with tens of thousands of others watching, witnessed this flotilla, this symbol of hope being dismantled. The chromatic low notes with a single chord on top echoed my weary, tragic, heartbroken feeling in writing this. The website for the Global Summoned Flotilla reported over 2 million viewers throughout their journey, and they have pledged to try to reach Gaza again this spring. Deborah Wong wrote an article in 2021 on a methodology for witnessing, where she said, observing and witnessing aren't the same thing. The double meaning of bearing witness speaks to the burden and the responsibility of the Speech Act. Wong believes that viewing and listening as witness both demonstrate a choice and agency. So it was a choice for me to watch the live stream, and writing a song demonstrated my power to create something meaningful about my experience and my reflections watching. Wong points out that, quote, the witness sees, but testimony is uttered, unquote, which means that speaking testimony has a bigger impact and holds more responsibility than witnessing or merely observing. Thus, my song is from my experience witnessing, but also testimony. The song Never Again uses the song structure of lyrical vignettes. Each verse covers a different scene, which is about a different position in this violent conflict. In the verses, I witness the activists in the flotilla and their observers, those who hold more military and narrative power, and the innocent civilians who bear the brunt of the violence. It was easier to write about what I was seeing and who I thought the main characters were. It was harder to add what this topic meant to me in daily life. So I had verses, but I didn't have a chorus. This is when I decided to borrow and use the more colloquial kind of understanding of the Japanese proverbial, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I decided to admit that it felt easier and enticing to choose not to see, hear, or speak on upsetting topics. Amidst the quiet chorus, you heard me saying, I shouldn't say it if it harshes the mood. And this line shows the tension of thinking, this is important, and I should bring it up, against what will people think of me for bringing it up? In witnessing and testifying, Wong cautions that while we listen to communities sing, pound, or chant new collectivities into existence, sometimes we are too eager to hear those sounds. Sometimes we hear the sounds of hope as more performatively stable than they actually are. Wong is saying that sometimes when we see the amazing energy and emotions around activism, we believe that feeling this hope is enough to make a change. But there is more to change than just feeling. We must act ourselves.
Hope can become a speech act that does not do what it says. Saying it becomes a way not to do it. Rachel Silverbloom.
Rachel Silverbloom asserts that hope needs to be both an affect and a practice. Hope is something we feel, but it must also be something we reflect in our actions. This is why in the third chorus of Never Again, the words change. I decided to take the action to witness, to speak up about this topic, even if it's uncomfortable. Even if I sing it for an audience whose beliefs and opinions I don't entirely know. Silverbloom's call to affect and action paired well with Lord's quote on making ideas felt for me. I liked this pairing because I felt that I had things I wanted to say, and I knew that I wanted to write songs towards hope, but I didn't quite know how to do that, and that action piece kind of became key for me. At this point in the project, I began asking myself, what comes after? I'm hearing that I'm glitching a little. I'm just going to see if this is caught in my shirt and if that helps. Okay. What comes after protest? How do we build after conflict?
What carries us close to the promise of our words? John Paul Lederach.
So these questions led me to peace and conflict studies. This discipline explores how to understand conflicts of all sizes with many different strategies and approaches to resolution, negotiation, and peace building. One of the most influential negotiators and theorists in peace and conflict studies is John Paul Lederach. He has decades of experience developing culturally based approaches to peace building. This moved away from earlier frameworks of peace building that were kind of one-size-fits-all models. He's also a major contributor to the concept of conflict transformation, and this concept transformed the way that I think about conflict.
Conflict is central to social change processes. Celia Cook Huffman. Conflict
transformation stems from the belief that conflict is not inherently negative. Conflict can be an opportunity to both express and listen so that we can better understand each other's values and experiences. However, it's worth stating that peace building cannot be one-sided. It requires all sides to be willing to come together to find new ways to exist. Some of my songs tonight assume that we've already reached this point, but some of my songs kind of encourage how we might get to that point tonight. In John Paul Letterac's landmark book, The Moral Imagination, he outlines 4 key ingredients for peacebuilding. Letterac found these ingredients to be present in many of the peace-building contexts he was engaged in. They're broad ingredients, and they appear differently in different contexts. 3 of these ingredients are individually explored in tonight's songs, and these ingredients are kind of a guiding framework for this lecture recital. They touch on that action piece that I was looking for. The first ingredient I want to share is mystery of risk.
People living in settings of deep-rooted conflict are faced with an extraordinary irony. Violence is known, while peace is the mystery. John Paul Letterac.
You might be surprised by the mood of this next song. Rather than reflecting the complexity of risk and the fear of the unknown, I wanted to write a song that would encourage me, a recovering pessimist, and somebody who only takes risks when she has really measured all possible outcomes. I needed something to help me take that leap. In this song, I wanted to capture both the fear and the pull to take a leap into the unknown. I used a descending melody in the chorus to punctuate a perhaps rational thought that a gamble does not have an assured positive outcome. That line sounds like, "A wager's a wager's a wager." It's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of sentiment. Do you take a risk that will maybe work? Or do you carry on with the devil that you know? The verses are pretty self-critical, but there's humor and encouragement, supported by the cheery ascending chords. In the bridge, the song includes many questions, worries, and what-ifs that are normal when deciding to take a risk. However, at the end of the bridge, there is a glimmer of hope and curiosity, and the chance to become emboldened by wondering if the mystery is worth the risk. This glimmer is again paired with some ascending chords to demonstrate hope. Inspired by peace being a risk and a mystery, and also by the print on this slide, by local Ottawa artist KJ Foreman, my next song is called Wager.
Risk is a mystery. It requires a journey. Risk means we take a step toward and into the unknown. John Paul Letterac.
Go back a slide.
Thank you.
Thank you. Call me measured, there's always rhyme and reason. Won't take it hard or much less when it's freezing. Follow a guided tour, circling a map. Take a wrong turn and there's no turning back. A wager's a wager's a wager. Deal maker, changer, taker. Choose the devil I keep knowing, or the mystery I am hoping. A wager's a wager's a wager. Da da da. In a world sold in plastic, I swear I meant to move, I swear I meant to act. I'll miss the window and lay dying in the tracks. A wager In all of John Paul Lederach's work, working in different contexts around the world, he always found people already doing the work to bring and negotiate peace at the grassroots level. When he asked these people why they made such daring risks independently and sometimes even risking their lives, many people didn't have a response and they hadn't really reflected on how they had gathered such courage. This is what Laderack calls the mystery of risk, the bravery to step into the unknown, even with the knowledge that whatever you try may fail. As I went about this songwriting project, it was another ingredient of Lederach's peacebuilding wisdom that urged me that I was on the right track combining music with research on peacebuilding. This ingredient is the inherent belief in the creative act.
To believe in healing is to believe in the creative act. John Paul Lederach.
This ingredient highlights the power of artists of all kinds to speak critically and fight against injustice and tyranny. Many times in history has the outspoken artist been censored, exiled, killed by those committing injustice. Furthermore, Lederach stressed that creativity is a necessary skill in peacebuilding because complex and deeply entangled issues need creative solutions. Therefore, peacebuilding needs creativity, and it needs belief in the power of a creative act. My third song actually explores a third ingredient, paradoxical curiosity. This ingredient represents the refusal to fall into dualism, where there's not only good and bad, wrong and right, black and white. This song follows the quintessential protest and folk song form called strophic form. That's where there's only verses. There might be a memorable last line, a little tag at the end. Think Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan and many other songs like that. Using strophic form is really useful to tell a story because it allows for a familiar melody for the ear to hold on to, but it lets you have lots of text and lots of lyrics. My song tells the story of my own personal journey with nuance. I'm sure I'm not alone in this room for being somebody who always wanted and often still wishes that there is a right answer, a right belief, and a right action every single time. But life keeps teaching me that there is gray, and that it's best to hold overlapping grays. Lederach urges us to seek out this gray because that's where the crux of understanding lies. The tag at the end of the verse is a mantra to myself to look out for this gray. It kind of sounds like, when there's guns and doves and ash, let some gray into my heart.
The concept of a paradox suggests that truth lies in, but also beyond what is initially perceived. It holds together seemingly contradictory truths in order to locate a greater truth.
For this song, I reflected on specific events and people that led me to overlapping grays. These instances may not have felt gray at the time, but as I've gotten older, I see the gray creeping in. For example, a childhood bully turned high school dropout, an activist movement with empty promises, the shattering of what you thought you understood, and a bit more hopefully, endings that turn into beginnings. I challenge myself to tell the story with the most gray imagery as possible. It's kind of like a reflecting I Spy sort of song. And I hope that you can find some of that gray as well. This song is called Graying Heart. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm in tune. Splintered pencils, this is in the wrong key. Double check tuning. My songwriting instructor, Kale, has coined the term, we tune because we care. And so that's what I'm doing right now. Okay. All right. Splintered pencils, next to always sharp, and I made sure that you felt dull. Cut your socks up, watch the rules harden, turn my confidence to null. One day I'd steer my ship, anchored yours before you leapt. It takes guts to ditch our parts. When there's guns and doves and dash, let some gray into my heart. Plastic seats filled in a silver stadium, they tell us we are the ones. Fight the shadows of this gray-haired nation. With our help they'd raise the funds. One day love would be love, haze and smoke from up above. Save the folks before the car. When there's guns and doves and dash, let some gray into my heart. Grip on tight to trace the perfect circle. I thought I could tell the shades. Smudging fingers, freezing my betrayal. Squint your eyes, what's certain fades. One day build new with stone, finally see the undertones. Practice light mixed into dark. When there's guns and doves and dash, let some gray into my heart. Catch the dust so subtle you might miss it. Find the tree that made that sound. Stay enough so you can hear the seed split, waking up deep underground. Snow will turn to rain, logic and heart don't speak the same. Metal gears can't play the harp. When there's guns and doves and dash, find the gray right from the start. Let some gray into my heart. There's only one ingredient left to share from Letterac's ingredients, but I can't get to it just yet. You see, as you work on learning new tools, refining skills, life continues. As I worked on songs about building peace, it was impossible to ignore the need to write a witnessing song again. This next slide contains headlines about ICE over the past year. Anger is an emotion that not many of us are taught to understand, appreciate, and express effectively. In our broad culture, Anna Demert notes that anger is often viewed as, quote, socially destructive and politically excessive, unquote. This perspective can lead to the dismissal of appropriately felt rage towards injustice, oppression, and violence. If a protest turns violent, no matter who started it, you will hear statements like, well, if only they protested peacefully, then they would be heard. If a particular individual shows their anger too much around issues of injustice, you will hear statements like, it's hard to take them seriously, it's not professional, it's not productive. Perhaps it will be dismissed as aggressive. However, it's important to ask who in general gets to show their anger.
My fear of anger taught me nothing. Audre Lorde.
Anna Demert notes that societal patterns and expectations suggest that, quote, the anger of dominant groups might not be overtly celebrated. I feel like I'm cutting out again. We're going to check the wire one more time. Okay. Anna Demert notes that societal patterns and expectations suggest that the anger of dominant groups might not be overtly celebrated, but it is often allowed and excused. This is something you can see everywhere. White people, in particular white men, are given much more leeway in their anger than anyone with an intersecting minority identity, be that related to gender, race, sexuality, disability, and so on. Anna Demert pulls from Audre Lorde, a Black queer feminist activist whose anger has been weaponized against her time and time again, as has the anger of Black women, queer women. And when Anna pulls from Lorde, Lorde, among many activists, believes in the power and, in fact, need of anger in social justice spaces in particular. Lorde says that anger is loaded with information and energy. Anger is our bodies telling us that something is not right. Demert concludes that in social justice spaces, anger and love are not opposites. Both seek to eliminate hate and violence, and both are grounded in a sense of care for others. Both seek to change the world by holding others to account. This next song I wrote in my first language, Spanish. Perhaps some of you may know the nod in the bridge of the chorus. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. And in English, join me if you know it. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. This famous chant comes from Chile, from the Nueva Canción movement, which was a large movement of protest music in South America in the 1970s and 80s. Musically, I used a single line in my chorus of this next song to make the chorus memorable, even if the listener doesn't speak the language. That line is Canto para Derretir. In Spanish, it means both I sing to melt and song to melt. And I was inspired by many protest signs that play on the American Immigration Customs Enforcement acronym, ICE. My song comes from my perspective as a half Chilean person, witnessing the violent, racist, and intentionally unclear deportations of Latinx people in the United States this past year. Thinking back on Wong's methodology for witnessing, she cautions that, quote, any methodology for witnessing must be built in the radical determination and willingness to take in the action or experience of others without the intent to own it. While the events south of the border stir many emotions within me, I have not directly experienced these events myself, so I write and witness as best I can from my position here in Canada. While writing this song, I was listening to many songs from the Nueva Canción movement, many of which I grew up with, and I realized that it's much more common to hear songs in 3 or 6 in Spanish than in English. It flows easily with the language. So this time, I wrote in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The feeling of gentle rocking that you heard in my first song, Never Again, which was in 3, is this time more of a self-soothing lullaby feeling, as many of the chords are not all sad or tense. This song has self-soothing lyrics in it, and the words comfort me and that my feelings are valid and part of my humanity. Although this song is in 6, it's faster than Never Again because I wanted to imagine myself marching, particularly in the bridge. I imagine myself marching in a crowd at a protest as I turn wishes into prayers, into values, and into committed actions.
The ethical witness performs an act of translation in the presence of spectral, racial, and sexual violence, one that cultivates compassion rather than disinterested spectatorship, indignation rather than pleasure, critical examination rather than aesthetic fascination. Paula Ioannidis.
Hoy día lloré de su parte, desde lejos por lo que vi. En sus caras yo vi a mi madre y grité, no la tratas así. Esposados nuestros conocidos, sin justicia o explicación. En sus manos recuerdo a mis tíos, abrazando con tanto amor, para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir hielo. Esposados nuestros conocidos por esos monstruos que traen terror, sus cabezas en bloques de hielo temblarán hecho su honor. Hoy día mi corazón parte, palpitando mi corazón roto, humanidad que aún siente dolor, tiene dientes que siguen devotos a que muerda enojo y valor, para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir hielo. Que los niños con mochila vuelvan siempre de la escuela, que las madres guardando peluches llegan algún día a ser abuelas, que el pueblo siga unido y jamás será vencido, que acá el fascismo y marchamos por un buen destino, para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir hielo. Agradezco a las almas cansadas, ofreciendo costosa atención, presenciando a diario pecados, negándose de la misión. Hoy día mi corazón se parte, Mañana levanto el puño, como seguirán llenas las calles. No se callen, no pidan perdón. Para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir, canto para derretir hielo. Sorry about that. We are asked to pay attention to many different things in today's world. It makes sense that we feel overwhelmed, and we may find ourselves falling to despair, helplessness, and hopelessness. But we are not doomed to fail. We can work towards kinder worlds. In the chaos and complexity, we must accept that peacebuilding is not linear. Peacebuilding is a cycle, and it spirals, and it must be understood and committed to as perpetual. In her concept of perpetual peacebuilding, Thania Paffenholz draws from many in the field of peacebuilding who present the need to push beyond linear approaches and narratives of peacebuilding. She quotes Anna Jarstad, who presents a conception of peace as a complex, dynamic process of becoming rather than an end state. The idea that the work of peacebuilding will never be done, will often be interrupted, may fall backwards before it moves forward, and must keep growing and evolving seems daunting. But it's also reassuring. As Paffenholz claims, this framework can help us think past success and failure, and embrace that peace can take many different forms at many different times. My second last song is in 6/8 because I was inspired by the spiraling and cycling imagery of Paffenholz's proposed perpetual peacebuilding. I asked Kim to make the piano sound like it's cycling through the chords rather than just stepping from chord to chord. As well as the time feel I chose, I collected as many round, rolling, spiraling, cycling nouns, adjectives, expressions, and metaphors as I could. The chorus has a key change, a lifting out of the reflective verses. This lifting change is meant to reinvigorate the commitment and recommitment to peacebuilding. The lyrics are perhaps a bit nonsensical in the chorus, but so is the path to peace. There are still ideas that you can hold on to, building on the work from before as you knit in the round, following the natural pace of the work as we cannot control the ticking of the tides, and taking all of the echoes and inspiration, tools that we can hold as we try. The verses, like Never Again, are vignettes, and they cover the questions that I have had throughout this project and in my learning about peacebuilding. How can I be patient with growth? How do I hold on to hope when it feels fleeting? How can I better value conflict? This next song is called Ada. Ada. cicadas miss the sun. I'm supposed to be using this mic. Born in warm. Actually, why don't we just start that again? Let's do that again. Sorry about that. Okay. Ada thought to ask her neighbor if cicadas miss the sun. Born in warmth only to burrow, waiting till their growing's done. Don't you think it seems serene? At the end they meet their dream. Ada thought to ask her brother, why do ripples have to end? Halo hope just for a moment. You'll forget next week again. Just for now it's still worthwhile. Water flows for the next mile. Let's knit in the round, mounting rows and orbiting shades. Let's compass the sound, taking tides will influence pace. Still looping the moon, never-ending pirouette eye. Echoes wound, we try. Ada thought to ask a stranger, what's this fighting all about? Cropping circles in a monsoon, but the truth's not coming out. All this talking past each other could be chance to rediscover. Let's knit in the round, mounting rows and orbiting chase. Let's compass the sound, taking tides will influence pace. Still looping the moon, never-ending pirouette eye. Echoes wound, we try. Echoes wound, we try. Although Ada seemed to be full of doubt with her many questions, she continued on in her search of understanding conflict, activism, and hope. Her search is perpetual, and she looks for peace. Something else Ada does brings us back, finally, to Letterac's last ingredient of peace building. Ada asks questions that concern her, and she asks them to her web of relationships. For Letterac's ingredient on Web of Relationships, he highlights the importance of acknowledging the interdependence between us all, extending beyond our close and familiar circles to even include our enemies. We need to acknowledge our entire webs because we need to see ourselves and our actions as part of and contributing to this web. How have we built certain parts of the web stronger? And where and why have we decided to leave someone behind? In fact, the idea of a web of relationships is one that I found echoed throughout this research. John Paul Lederach says, breaking violence requires that people embrace a more fundamental truth. Who we have been, are, and will be emerges and shapes itself in a context of relational interdependency. Pfaffenholz outlines that perpetual peacebuilding takes place in multiple spaces simultaneously in an array of forms involving a wide range of actors, constituting a map of relationships, or as an elaborate ecosystem. And Audre Lorde wrote, "I am not free while any woman is unfree, even when her shackles are very different from my own. And I am not free as long as one person of color remains chained, and nor is any one of you." My last song explores the reality of clearly divided webs that we find ourselves in today. We find ourselves in cultures of polarization, where almost all topics fall into us versus them, good versus bad. And this polarization has us stuck. In peace and conflict studies, when a conflict gets too sticky or it seems that there's no way to possibly move forward, that's when it's labeled as an intractable conflict.
Intractability arises when the different elements of a conflict seemingly merge into a simplistic us versus them narrative that resists change. Dornbach, Worden, and Young.
This resistance to change is important. In an intractable conflict, it may seem that staying the same, or worse, escalating to violence is inevitable. It may even feel that perpetual peace-building cycles are stopped in their tracks. But there is reason to refuse this inevitability and to believe that change is always coming. Rachel Silverbloom's article entitled "Hope as Refusal, Queer Feminist Futurity" has greatly informed my relationship with hope as well as influenced my last song. In this article, Silverbloom does not deny that hope can be empty, naive, and fleeting. But she believes that hope can be sturdy when paired with action, as I mentioned earlier in the lecture, and when paired with refusal. We must participate in actions that reinforce our hope while believing that violence and oppression are not inevitable.
Hope as refusal makes the act of protest feel worthwhile and its risks bearable because it holds open the possibility for transformation. Rachel Silverbloom.
This last song has a strong call to refuse the inevitable. The song shows a disconnected web that refuses change. You can hear this in my verse accompaniment, which stays around one chord, stuck. The chorus brings a creaking effort for change with one new chord in color. And you will hear the moment that change takes hold in the bridge, but I won't spoil that. The song centers around the words of renowned feminist sci-fi author Octavia Butler.
All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change.
Before the music, I'd like to thank my own web of relationships that made this lecture recital possible tonight. I'd like to thank James McGowan for supervising this project and joining us on the first song.
Woo-woo.
I'd like to thank Kalle Mattson for being my songwriting instructor. And I would also like to thank the Music and Culture Graduate Committee and the School of Art and Culture for giving me the opportunity to take this class. I would also like to thank John Rosefield and the whole tech crew for making this show look and sound amazing.
Yay!
I would also like to thank my friends, family, and peers, many of whom who are here tonight or watching live. Your conversations, questions, listening ears, and uplifting support have been invaluable to me and will continue to be so. Finally, I need to thank the band up here. Give it up for the amazing energy provided by Stefano Dodaro on drums. The depth as wide and deep as an ocean provided by Jeremy Keast. And slide clicker, quote reader, piano player, harmonizer extraordinaire, Kim Farris-Manning. Thank you guys so much for making these songs come to life. Please check out their own amazing creative endeavors in the program. Our world is complex. Conflict may weigh heavy in our hearts, minds, bodies, and souls, but conflict can be an opportunity for change, I've learned, if you're willing to listen. I hope to be like Ada, to keep asking questions to better understand, to listen to the call to grow despite the dark, and to find ripples that sustain, even if only for now, and take chances to rediscover. Someone remembered your name before you told them so. When was the last time you let someone new in? Surprised you replied to and listened, really listened. 'Cause all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. Remind me, Octavia, the only lasting truth is all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. Remind me, Octavia, the only lasting truth is change. When was the last time your heartstrings fell quit? Thank you all so much.
Yay!